Well, France loves its saints' days, and tomorrow, May 16th, is Saint Honoré. Saint Honoré, the patron saint of bakers. We're going to mark the occasion by taking a closer look at bakers, bakeries, and bread here in France with up-and-coming baker Julien Cantenot, the founder of Atelier P1. Hi, Julien. Welcome.
Hello.
So first of all, I love the name of your atelier because in English, P1, but in French, if we say P1, it's like pain or bread.
Yes, exactly.
It's a great name. Let's just a question on Saint Honoré. Is he an important figure for bakers or not really?
Not really anymore. Actually, not so many people know about it. But French people go to the bakery every day, so...
They certainly do, and it's always a good occasion
Yes.
to talk about bread. Now, obviously, there's been such a tradition of bakers and bakeries in France for generations, but there's been a bit of a new tradition recently, what we call like the néo-boulanger or the new bakers. I mean, do you consider yourself a néo-boulanger, and what does that mean?
Yes, it means that we are going back to the kind of old recipe, that the use of sourdough and long fermentation to get more tasty bread and some bread that is more easily to digest, and it makes it more flavory, and it's allowed like the combination of different recipe to use like different kind of flour, heritage grain flours, and it's much more interesting to make also for the people who want to be a baker.
So tell me about this big sourdough bread that you've brought in. Like, what's the process of making that? How long does it take?
So it takes 24 hours. So we always we make the bread the day before. So we start making around 6 in the morning. And so we do the dough in the big mixer, and then we let it rest during a few hours. And then at the end of the morning, we divide the dough, we shape the bread, and then we put it in the fridge for the next days. And on the next days, we bake it during 1 hour. So it's like, 1 hour, 1 day of fermentation.
So a typical French family, they buy a baguette, which is suitable for one meal. But that is a big piece of bread. I mean, do people usually get the whole thing?
Yes, people buy the whole thing, but it's like 4 baguettes, and you can store it during like 4 days.
Okay, so it's not like the baguette that goes off after one day.
It gets dry very quickly, and then people waste a lot of baguette because half baguette is dry, so it go in the trash.
How big is the sourdough tradition here in France? Again, when most people think of French bread, they do think of a simple baguette.
No, it's the tradition. It's not like traditional. People just know the name, but they don't know what it is. They don't know how to explain what is sourdough. Most of bakeries, they have one bread, which is made of sourdoughs, but not only. It's like a mix of sourdoughs and yeast.
And yours is only sourdough?
Yes, that's our specialty. We only make 100% sourdough bread.
So one thing that's been great about your bakeries, because there's 3 of them, is how active you've been on social media. Do you feel like in today's world that's a really necessary thing for young bakers to survive?
Actually, there's one trend of like viennoiserie and like dedicated to the youngest generation. But when you talk about bread, actually, it's more like kind of not adults, but it's 2 kind of generations. It's more like for instance, the tourist neighborhood. There's a lot of people who buy a lot of savory and viennoiserie, and they follow the trends on the social medias. But for the bread, it's more like family. Who come to our bakery to get this.
And speaking of families, your own family has a huge tradition of bakers and millers, starting with your grandfather. Tell me about that.
Yes, my great-grandfather, actually, it's 4 generations, he had a mill in Burgundy, so he was making flour. And then my grandfather, he was the boss of the mills in Annecy, in Savoie. And then my father, he created different bakeries in the Alps. And so I'm the 4th generation of it. So, yeah.
And how do you feel? What's your spin? How are you different from your ancestors, would you say?
Actually, like my father was more about he had different models. So he had very several bakeries and making the products in one place and then delivering. But I'm really focusing on on the quality of the ingredients and the process. And going back to the sourdough for me is very important. But that's really a kind of big city thing, and that this going much more slower in the rest of France, but it's coming back. But it's just the bread is very traditional, so it's like rice in Asia.
Yeah.
So it's something cheap. French people are not ready to pay a lot for good bread. In the restaurants, for instance, it's free. You can ask several times bread baskets. So now the idea is to give value to the bread, and so that French people know there's a lot of work behind, like for wine making.
Right.
Yeah. And
How much would a whole sourdough like that cost?
it's like €7.20, so it's around €9 the kilo.
And you don't only do bread. I see you brought some other things with you, a zucchini pie, a viennoiserie, which are croissants, so that kind of thing. But just a quick word on my favorite, which is the Palmier. Where I'm from, that's called an elephant ear. I don't know if you can see. It's that kind of, right, maybe you can hold that up, Julien. It's that pastry right there. Tell me about what makes your Palmier or your elephant ear different.
That's really the quality of the ingredient, of the flour, of the butter, and the way to put it on when you bake it, to make it caramelized, so during the baking. So yeah, we use very good butter from the west of France, the same butter we use for all the other products. But yes, most of the time the quality is also the quality of the ingredients is very, very important, and that's sometimes with the price, when you need to you can't really sell your products. Many bakeries they can't afford the best ingredients, so that's what we are trying to do.
Well, Julien, thank you so much for coming in and talking to us. I know a lot of people in the newsroom are going to be fighting over those viennoiserie and bread, so thank you so much for bringing it in. Your bakeries are called Atelier P1 or P1, and they are throughout Paris. There's 3 of them. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.